Good afternoon. Appreciate you guys being here today. We join on a Monday after a tough battle this previous Saturday versus Northwest Missouri. Kind of notes from the games. Extremely proud of our guys. They battled. I don't think this was a case of nerves or just bad performance. I think what it was more so than anything was two really good football teams competing on Saturday. Were there some plays that we could have done better? Absolutely. Did we do some good things? Absolutely. And so, we got to continue to build on what we did and try to minimize a few mistakes. But at the end of the day, Northwest Missouri made just a handful of reps better than we did, and they got the victory. Health-wise, came out really good. Had a little ankle deal on one of our backs, but he'll be fine. Colton Bass put a knee brace on. That was more for a precautionary deal, just to keep it a little more stable, but he'll be fine. By the time you're a senior, nobody feels fine anymore, you know what I mean? So from that standpoint, health, we did really well. No major issues going into Central Missouri this week. Questions?
Coach, when we talk about the week that was, do we look back at a few plays that really made a difference in the outcome of this game?
Yeah, it's so hard because, a lot of times you focus on the fourth quarter and you focus on the ending as those are the plays that define. But man, we dropped a pick in the first quarter. We gave up a sack in the first quarter that would have led to a big play. There were some run plays where we missed blocks that would have led to some big plays. Defensively, yeah, we kind of got, so there's little things throughout the course of the game that at that moment didn't seem like, well, the game's over now. But, when you go back and you look at the tape, you're like, holy crap, man, if those plays early go differently, man, the fourth quarter is not as big a deal because you're winning by a lot. But yeah, you can probably count 8 to 12 plays that really would have changed the football game for our favor.
Week 4, do we travel up on Friday? Do we travel up Saturday morning? What's the travel schedule look like for this week?
So we'll same day. It's about 2:45 to Warrensburg, so it's not a bad travel. We'll pop up and we'll stop halfway, have some breakfast, shake our legs out, and then we'll finish the trip and play up there.
What do we expect to see from Central Missouri as far as schemes and defensive fronts?
Yeah, defensively, there'll be a little bit of a carryover. So Rich Wright was the head coach at Northwest Missouri for all those years, running the defense that they ran last week. He is now the defensive coordinator at Central Missouri, doing a lot of similar structure, if you will, 4 down, similar coverages. And so there'll be a little carryover there. And then offensively, yeah, it's start over. It is wide splits, very reminiscent of Baylor, if you will, when they were super wide and chucking the ball around, trying to score some points. And so we'll have our hands full there.
Tempo when they're in that wide offense like that?
When they get yards on first down, they want to go fast. Nobody wants to be second and long and rush to third and long. But if you're if you're second and short and you rush, then third and short is manageable. And so yeah, there will be some spurts of tempo here and there.
Seems like over the last few years they've had some local kids play at Central. Are all those kids gone now? It seemed like they had a pipeline from Carthage there for a while.
And that kid was there forever. And COVID stretched it out. I can't think of his name from Carthage. Arkell Smith.
Yeah.
Had a really good career there. I'm glad he's gone on to be a great father and doing other stuff. He's awesome. But yeah, they did. They had the kid from Webb City. He's gone. And so, yeah, they've kind of exhausted their 417 connection for the time being.
How impressed were you with your defense on making those big plays in the red zone, the pick, the 4th down stop, to really keep you guys in it despite them being able to drive down there?
Yeah, I don't know if don't know if you're paying attention, there's a theme developing. We are bend but don't break. We've since day one, we don't care if you get yards, we just don't want to give you points. And so we don't care if you drive 80 yards and then have a turnover. That's what we're after. Like the mode of it's not realistic to shut out an offense anymore. It used to be you played C gap to C gap, and you just first down you had to run it, second down you had to run it, and depending on what third down was, you could choose to run or pass. But this day and age, with teams throwing the ball on first down and just spreading it out, you're going to give up some yardage. And so you ignore the yardage and you really, really focus on explosives, which are runs over 15 yards and passes over 20. And then the other thing you focus on are points. You used to focus on third down, but now teams are going for it so much on fourth down. Third down has become second down, if you will. So yeah, our focus is holding teams to fewer points is the goal.
So two things. Northwest Missouri had that 2 quarterback thing. Was that something that you schemed for? Were you prepared for that?
Yeah, we were. And both had played in every game, and both had played early. It wasn't a situation where, oh, the game's out of hand, put the second string in guy. No, it was like, hey, first stringer got 3 series, and then, oh, here comes the quote-unquote second stringer. And so we were prepared. You got to have a profile for what each one does. They're both working in the constraints of the same offense, but one was a little bit faster than the other. One was a little quicker to flush the pocket than the other. And so I think if you would ask Coach Patasco, it maybe influenced his calls a little differently when a different quarterback was in, or a different, personnel influences a lot of our play calls.
So does UCM have any unique things that you guys are scheming for?
Yeah, they got 2 quarterbacks. They're both really good. Their offense is unique. They have found ways to introduce triple option principles in a spread offense, and that's essentially what they're trying to do. They're trying to cut the field in half, and they want to space out as many people as possible to create throwing lanes. And so that in itself is a challenge, on top of having a big O-line, a good quarterback that can run a little bit, and a couple receivers that have quite a few receptions.
You talked a little bit about it already, but what specifically do you kind of want to clean up before preparing for Central Missouri?
The second week in a row, I gotta get our special teams better. We've, in our 3-game season, which is a very short sample size, you've seen our offense be great and carry us. I mean, we scored 34 and then 38, right? And in those games, the offense was really, really clicking. Last week, you really saw the defense show up and really start to get its groove. The one that hasn't really made explosive plays yet is in the kicking game, and that's on me. I coach the punt unit. We collectively coach the other units, so we've got to find a way to make our kicking unit more of a factor, because what you saw Saturday is going to be a trend in the MIAA. The scores are going to be closer. They're going to be these highly contested matches where field position is so important, and we special teams is a huge part of that.
And then one of those 2 quarterbacks you're talking about for Central Missouri debuted last Friday, and he threw over 400 yards. What's the game plan defensively to kind of contain that?
We're going to take all their footballs and punt them over the fence. No, here's the deal. Again, it's like any other high-powered offense. The mindset is not, hey, we're going to go in and we're going to completely kick their butts. They're not going to have any points. No, what we want to do is we want to put a lid on it. We want to contain them. We want to try to minimize the amount of explosives that they have. We want to make them work down the field. We don't want them to have a 25-yard play. We would rather them have 5-yard plays than giving them 25 yards on one play. And when you do that, you force them to execute over and over and over again, and instead of getting it all in one pop.
Coach, real quick, Tillman Martin, 3rd start of the season, first MIAA start. Compare the first half of that game to the second half of the game, because it seems like he grew up a lot.
Yeah.
From half 1 to half 2.
And what I've told people is Tillman didn't look like a freshman for 2 games of the season. And And I think people forgot that 10 months ago, this kid was in high school. And so for the first time, you started to see, and I'm not gonna say play bad or play great, but you started to see like, oh wow, this is a freshman mistake. And so, but no different than the greatness that he showed earlier this season, we attributed to the offense. Some of the struggles that we saw on Saturday, I'm gonna attribute to the offense. And so it's a team deal. We gotta clean up some of the things up front that give him a better platform to throw from. Receiver routes, all those things go into play. But yeah, he's going to make mistakes. If we thought he was going to go 11 games with no interceptions, I don't think anyone fathomed that. I don't think anyone even, that's unreal. And so, yeah, he made a couple mistakes, but go through the grade sheet, everybody made their fair share of offense and defense.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Coach.
Absolutely. Appreciate you guys.
Is that Nathan Glades?
Next we
my
have
lucky stars.
student athletes.
That is the Daniels. Yes.
Whoever wants to go first, David, Nathan.
Kill it, Casseus.
Thank you, Coach.
Yeah, see you guys.
David, if you want to start with your name, your position, where you're from, and your major.
Yes,
Any
yeah.
that's fine.
Daimond Casseus, I'm a junior, I'm a business major.
Perfect.
Talk about your room and what it's like, the guys that you're working with every day to be successful.
It's good working with those guys. I mean, I feel like we spend a lot of time with each other, outside of football, to make sure that our bond is good. So when it comes to being on the field and making sure that the communication is well, I feel like it goes hand in hand.
Does time away from the game of football, doing stuff outside of just your meetings and that stuff, does that help create that bond amongst those guys?
Yes, sir, definitely. Just making sure, like, you understand, like, how to talk to, a certain player and how you talk to another player. Like, just make sure that the communication is well. It really does help a lot.
What's the difference between this year and last year?
I feel like the difference is that we all know, like, I don't really like to speak on last year, but we know that, we had a lot of explosives given up, and, our main thing is just making sure that we don't give up those explosives.
So did the experience that you got last year as a sophomore, has that transitioned to help you be as successful as a junior?
Yes, sir. Just making sure that I'm one of the older guys now, so just making sure that everyone else, is, following that new standard, and yeah.
Do you feel like your experience from this past game, how are you going to use that to get ready for this next NIAA matchup with UCM?
We're just going to use it how we use any other game, just going there with the mindset to dominate, just make sure we're doing, following our keys, using what our coaches has given us, have a great week of prep, just go out there and dominate.
What did you kind of learn from the defense from the loss against Northwest Missouri State?
Just like, in the off season, we all have that, like Coach Bradley said, the bend but don't break. So just knowing that it's not over until they get in the end zone. So just making sure that, we fight, we continue to fight no matter what happens.
And what's kind of the game plan or key going into a high volume passing attack from Central Missouri?
Just to limit the explosives.
Do you accept the challenge that you're going to be pressed this Saturday with the passing game that you're going to see? It's got to be exciting. I mean, you're going to have a chance to get a pick. You're going to have a chance to make a big play. I assume you're looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm looking forward to that. The whole back end is, and like I said, we just have to have a great week of prep. Go out there and just do what we have to do.
You guys have been pretty good at forcing turnover on downs. What's kind of the mindset that leads to those turnovers?
Just again, the bend but don't break. Like, even if they get, an explosive, go out there and knowing that, okay, we're gonna have another chance to get the ball. So, just follow our keys and just remember what our coaches, what they told us. Go out there and get it.
Cool. Thank you so much, Damon.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No, you're
You're good.
good. Yeah.
Nathan Glaze, I'm from Joplin, Missouri. Been here for a minute, so. But I play running back.
Talk about your running back room. You've got some guys who got experience behind you last year because of an injury. What's it like now working with those guys and being able to go out and show them that you can do it on the field because they weren't here when you were here before?
Yeah. Just to talk about that kind of stuff is like it's the reality of football. Is injuries come and go, but with those younger guys, a lot of those guys got to see me in fall camp that year before I unfortunately had my ACL injury. But with them, it's been a pleasure to be able to sit in meetings with them and understand what it looks like to be able to go into a meeting, understand, take it as professionalism. So be a professional in what you do. So write down all the notes that you're supposed to take, what it looks like to make sure when you go out there, you know exactly what's going on. So me being able to sit in there with them has been I think the biggest jump for them because it gives them the idea of hey, this is the standard and this is what it's going to be held to. So I've really been able to step into that role again. Unfortunately, last year with my ACL injury, I kind of became not vacant. I kind of just went ghost. I had a lot of stuff going on, so I wasn't really there for them in that sense, but I'm here for them now.
Joplin kid, grew up here. What's it like, wearing the green and gold and the responsibility as a Joplin kid playing for your hometown school?
That's a good question. I love being able to be here. I've been here for the last 4 years now. A lot of people, they have their opinions about what Southern football is, but, we kind of keep that to ourselves. But being able to play in front of, the Joplin community and people that I love, it doesn't take them, I got kids that are from Texas and American Samoa that, their families aren't able to come down here and watch a game on a Saturday, whether they got stuff going on or they got to get a flight. So being able to have everyone here that I've known, and not only that, but in the aspect of me being able to impact the younger kids in a sense of I still talk to some of the, I'll see the elementary school kids or high school kids that I graduated with, or just in a sense of I got kids I graduated high school with that I still talk to about playing here and just what they're doing in life. And some of them aren't even athletes. I have that open mentality of everyone I'm around, I want to make sure that I'm open and I talk to them all the time, whether it's about football or just about life in general.
What's kind of the dynamic between you, an experienced running back, and your freshman quarterback?
The dynamic's really it's not really that big. So I know a lot of people say freshman and stuff for him, but he's already played 3 games. And I'm a big believer in if you've already played your first game, then you got to have that mentality of not necessarily a veteran, but you need to understand that when you come into work, the professionalism to it, taking the notes, understanding what defense you're going against, who are the starters, who are the backups, what do they roll to in this kind of aspect. Or so with him, it's been more I take him under my wing in a sense of trying to explain to him the importance of what every week looks like, what the preparation from Monday through Friday means to make sure that it gives us the best chance to win on Saturday, because winning's not guaranteed. There's a lot of plays that can happen in a football game, and sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way. So it's important to make sure that you can eliminate every error or every mistake that you can eliminate during practice by just focusing on the task at hand. Then you'll be more successful on Saturday.
This upcoming week, what's kind of the game plan when it comes to the rushing attack?
I think it's just I don't really know yet. We haven't really had that kind of discussion yet, but essentially I'm just going to assume we're going to do everything that we're going to do. Just because of the team, we're not going to change what we do based off of what defense or whatnot. You're going to have a little bit of gimmicks here and there that you change just on a play to see what you can expose on that defense. And they're going to do the same thing as a defense. They're going to do the same thing. They're going to come out with a different formation or a different coverage or a different roll into to see what they can do to disrupt our offense. So the biggest thing is just being disciplined and focus on the details and understanding the importance of what it means to practice like a pro.
It was a high energy game, chippy on both sides. As a grad student, veteran, what were you kind of telling your guys to keep their calm and keep their, attitude right?
So unfortunately in that situation, I got to be more aware with how I was acting on Saturday. I wasn't acting in a rude manner or an aspect of that, but I was definitely being a factor of trying to get them up and going. But I will say I got to be more aware with other people around me. I got a little frustrated with the hip drop tackle because I'm not a fan of that. That's kind of what happened to me last year when I tore my ACL. So when that kind of happened, it kind of made me hit a different wire in that sense. But just understanding that next play mentality, with those guys, a lot of those guys, they don't really get too upset about it. But even when we got like flags out there, I was just like, hey, next play. Like I was telling them, like, it doesn't matter. We got a next play. We got to move on. That's it. It's the end of it.
And I know you know your offense very well, but from that loss, what did you kind of learn from that game?
As a football player or as a competitive athlete or just a person in general, you never want to lose, but it's to be expected, and losing is probably one of the greatest things that can happen to you, because with losses, you understand what you need to get better at. And the last thing you want to do is win a game and then think that you don't need to change anything. Immediately after the game, I watched film for an hour, and I went through every single play, and I was my biggest critic on every single play, even if I gained 10 yards. Because the reality is that you can always do better. So when it comes to that, the offense is going to have a much higher standard when it comes to practice this week, because I was very not happy with how we performed on Saturday, not just in a position room, but as an entire whole. So these practices are going to be a lot more intense for me. There's going to be a lot more vocal leadership in that aspect to make sure the offense is clicking and understanding what the standard is every single day.
And on offense, are there any areas for improvement that you hope to clean up before Central, or like strengths that you think went really well that you hope to use against Central?
I think every position on our field has to strengthen, because the goal each week is to be 1-0. We're not out here trying to get blue ribbons. We're not out here trying to hear, oh, you guys played Northwest close. We're two really good teams. And when it comes to us playing this next week, I tell the guys to be very process-oriented, not goal-oriented, because you gotta understand. I told them this morning when we were working out, I was like, the goal today is to make sure we're not just working out. We're not just lifting weights right now. We're lifting weights so that we can win on Saturday. And that's not necessarily the standard. That's the expectation. So when it just comes to these things, there's going to be a whole another level of what it means to really prepare, what it looks like, and how it's going to get done.
In my limited role around the team, doing the Coach Bradley show, the press conference, that kind of stuff, there's a definite difference in attitude, in accountability around the team this year than in the past. Is that you and Zach and Colton and those guys who've said, enough's enough, we're fixing this now?
So I think it's a little bit of everybody, to be honest. I'm not gonna sit here and take credit for those kind of things, but I think it's our whole thing, our whole motto is faith, family, attitude, accountability, toughness, and effort. And those are things that we should live by, and we do live by as a culture in the football team. And when someone's not being their best version because they want to do their own thing, there's definitely going to be an accountability aspect that comes into that. And that's kind of what I want to harp on more starting today in this practice. We've harped on it, but I'm going to be a